spring around the corner and seed starting is going to begin just within the next couple weeks. I'm really excited to start all of my seeds, but first, if you are new to homesteading or gardening and wanting to have a very prolific garden to sustain you and your family, you might find yourself getting a little bit of analysis paralysis. Don't worry, in this video, I will be giving you guys tips, tricks, and a breakdown of steps, what to do first, how to figure out your goal, and figure out what is possible on your property. Welcome, my name is Hannah Jo. I am the face of this channel, so if you are new here, please consider subscribing. We're brand new homesteaders. We are learners, defenders. We're part of God's army and the Patriot Party. We are whole food creators and self-reliance seekers. If that interests you, come follow along and let's get into today's video. What is my plan with this grid paper? Well, my plan is to figure out in my mind and both on paper my 1, 2, and 3 year goal. And the first question I want you to ask yourself is, what is your end goal? It's really easy and simple to mess up on paper. I've done it several times just within this last week on my little grid paper that I'll show you here soon of our property. But it's a lot harder to think of something that's going to be in your backyard or your market garden or wherever you're going to be planting, and then realize that you just spent lots of dollars, time, and energy cultivating a plan that really isn't going to be working in the space that you have. So that is why I like this grid paper. It's a really large grid paper, this one that I purchased. I believe it's like a 4x4. It's huge, but our property is big. And so I really wanted to visualize every square foot. So each little square within the big square here is a square foot of our property. And I kind of went crazy. So you'll see my head on paper here soon. Okay, so my goal is for every area of my home and property to be contributing to all of our family needs. Let me know in the comments below if you are interested in our house floor plans. If you want to know more about that, let me know and I'll make that a separate video. So what are our family needs? Well, I want to be able to grow a year's worth of food to stockpile through the winter and eat and consume through the winter months, and also have a semi-prolific winter garden in some way, shape, or form. The next question I want you to ask yourself is, what are your limits? So how much time do you have? How much money do you have? Is there any physical limitations to what you can and cannot do? After asking yourself those questions, we can now move into step 1, mapping out your property line. Or if you're just doing a garden, map out your garden plan. So take a tape measure and map out. Is it gonna be the side of your yard? Do you have 10,000 square feet in the back of your property? Do you have half an acre? Do you have a whole acre? Now that we have the property line drawn out with a darker marker or colored pencil, so it's really distinctive, next you want to go through and figure out what trees, shrubs, or structures are going to be staying on your property or going to be in the way of your garden. So let's say you have like a barn right next to it, or you have a shed in the middle of it, or you have a greenhouse in the middle of your garden. Go ahead and sketch that out. Okay guys, this is my map right here. And as you see this circle right here, that is a tree. I also have a circle right here. That is a tree as well. And so what I will be deciding with my husband is which one will stay and which one will go to ensure our biggest and best growing area. Okay guys, step number 3, you're gonna be sun mapping. That's why I told you guys to put in all of the trees or structures that were on your property. After you get your sun mapping done, that's the perfect point to pause and really figure out what your growing space is going to be. Like, that's your garden space. After you figure out how much space you have, you're gonna move into figuring out what type of growing do you wanna do. When I say that, I mean, do you want an in-ground garden? Do you want a high tunnel? Or do you want a raised bed garden? And with this step, you can figure out, if I want raised beds, how big do I want them? How many fit in my garden area? How much is the lumber and the knickknacks gonna cost, like the screws and the hinges and things like that? If I want a high tunnel, where am I gonna get that? How big is the high tunnel gonna be? And how much is it gonna be? Also, are you going to be doing raised beds inside that high tunnel, or are you going to just do back to Eden gardening or a lasagna gardening or hugelkultur or a no-till? And if you're going to be doing in-ground gardening, where are your rows going to be? How wide are they going to be? And then how wide are your walking spaces or your paths going to be in between your in-ground garden? Also, a note to self is, when I was helping at my CSA farmer friend, he definitely let me know that you always want to take into consideration anything that will go in the paths for weed prevention. So when you do an in-ground garden, you want either pebbles or wood chips or cardboard or rock or something in between, like yard fabric, whatever, so that if a weed makes a seed and it flows right there, you're not having a weed takeover challenge. Now you can set your budget. Figuring out what your budget will determine what you can and cannot do moving forward with your garden. Checking Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or lumber yards or any mills close to you is a great way to source materials. And we definitely will be looking into that because we want to go big this year, and we only have a certain amount of cash to do it with. Don't plant what you guys don't eat. There is an exception if you want to try something and see if you like it better homegrown instead of at the store, and I totally get that. But don't go crazy with a ton of zucchini if your family just does not eat zucchini. My family does not eat zucchini. However, I do want to try a patty pan this year, so I might do 1 or 2 plants, but that's it. We're just gonna give it a try. And I'm gonna save the rest of that space for my tomatoes and my bell peppers, foods that we really love to eat all the time. Tomatoes are what is called a cash crop for us because I can them and I preserve them to consume pretty much all year long, from tomato sauce, tomato paste, diced tomatoes, whole tomatoes, spaghetti sauce, salsa, and whatever else you can do with tomatoes. That is a essential for us and our family. So I want to make sure that I'm giving enough garden space for that cash crop to give me as much yield as I want to make my garden profitable for me storing food. But that's my goal. That might not be your goal. So I have some cash crops I want to share with you, like a little mathematic equation that I do to solidify how much crops I can fit into a raised bed or a in-ground bed. I have 2 beds here on my grid paper. I have an in-ground bed that is a 3 foot by 3 foot by 30 feet, 90 square feet. And then I have a 4 foot by 8 foot raised bed, which is 32 square feet. So we're gonna start with peppers. We're going to be taking 90 feet, because that's the 90 square feet that we've got in here. We are going to be timesing it by 12 inches because there's 12 inches in a foot. That gives us 1,080 inches. Now, on the back of your seed packet, you will see they need to be spaced out 18 inches. So I'm going to be dividing that by 18, and that will give me a number of 60 plants. Now, if I put 60 plants in this garden bed right here, I do this for another reason. Right at the back of the seed packet, you will see that there's only 25 seeds in here, which means 1, I need to get more of this type if I want more, or I need to get 2 more types of peppers to fill in this bed and make it the pepper bed, the Kentucky Wonder Bean. And I'm going to be using just 30 feet. So this is just going to be the 1 foot on the end of that bed. So I'm going to be taking in 30 feet in my calculator. I am timesing that by 12 inches. And then the Kentucky Wonder Bean, they need to be spaced out, I think it's 6 inches. So I'm going to be dividing that by 6, and that will give me 60. Again, I will only be able to get 60 plants right here in this first row, and I only have 25 seeds. So I need to buy more of these or put a different type of bean on the other side. I'll be doing the tomatoes next, and on the back of the tomato packet, you will see that they are basically 2 feet apart. So I'm gonna take that 90 feet, I'm gonna times that by 12 inches. That gives me the same 1,080 inches. And then I'm going to be dividing that by 24, and that will tell me that I can only fit in roughly 45 tomato plants in this garden bed. But again, on the back of the seed packet, I only have right here about 25 seeds. So that's why I like to do this math. It'll also allow me to figure out if I want to put them in raised beds or if I want to put them in a in-ground bed with a cattle panel in the middle. I'm really eager to know, guys, what you guys are working with, what your goal is, and how much space you guys are planning on planting with this year. Let me know in the comments below. Here is my grid paper of our entire property. Disclaimer, I have changed a lot of things on here because I have envisioned this for a very long time, but I never knew what our property looked like. So now that we're here and we're finally on our property, I'm having a really difficult time figuring out where I want all my plants to go and how I want it set up. So there will be lots of eraser marks, but here it is. Ready? I decided to put my property into zones. Gate for our, I guess, utility trucks or any type of trucks that are going to be bringing in materials that they can get to our back acre of the property, basically. So this is zone 3 right here. This is our poultry barn. There is a shed slash barn. It's a very small barn, very large shed on the property right now. But the structure is really good. It's just everything else is falling apart. And so what we're gonna do is just reuse those materials and just build it back up. We plan on putting a very large chicken run or poultry run along this side, and then building tons of in-ground raised beds and then in-ground garden spaces right here, which leads us to ground 4. This is our garden area. So I have literally this whole back area, and then I have this whole area of tons of growing space, which is just great. I am still trying to figure out what I want. I'm making room for berries. I'm making room for a hoop house. I'm making room and planting around our garlic that was already planted last year, and trying to make it visually appealing to coexist with our chicken coop. Well, that's it, guys. I hope this broke down what you guys need to do before you start seeds, so you know exactly how many seeds to start and how much to feed your family. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, please. That lets me know that this content was great. Share it with a friend if they need to know this information, and maybe they're having some analysis paralysis when it comes to their garden. Hopefully this will help them out. Guys, subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to see how this garden grows this year. I'm really excited. I cannot wait to see what I'm able to do right outside those doors over there. If you guys want to know more day-to-day on what's going on with me and what's going on this farm, hit me over on Instagram. I'll put it in the show notes below. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.